This motion calls for greater ambition, for Gloucestershire to be at the forefront of tackling the climate change emergency by setting ourselves challenging but achievable targets and by setting an example. At present, the UK is committed to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by at least 80% by 2050 compared to 1990 levels. This is just not ambitious enough. The threat is known. Average global temperatures have significantly increased, leading to rises of 20 centimetres in sea levels in the last century. Temperature increases are set to go up by 50% more between 2040 and 50. Sea levels may rise by a metre by the end of this century. The cost of doing nothing on climate change is clear. We must not be complacent. The UK is currently set to decisively miss its own legally binding emissions target for 2027. The biggest danger is thinking someone else will act to stop it. Bringing this back to GCC, I believe this council can be proud of making good progress against the emissions reductions target it set itself for 2020. But now we need to be more ambitious. This is why today we are bringing this motion to commit the council to cutting its corporate emissions by 80% no later than 2030 and to strive to be carbon neutral by the same date by offsetting the remaining emissions. We're calling for an ambitious strategic approach in cooperation with the districts and Gloucestershire's local enterprise partnership. In January, the LEP published its own Gloucestershire Sustainable Energy Strategy, which stated an overarching commitment, quote, to ensuring all public sector policies and funding programmes are aligned with Gloucestershire's sustainable energy ambitions. I hope we can all agree with that. Bearing in mind the ambitious commitment in this motion, GCC should consider environmental impact in all policies and plans, specifically including carbon and other emissions. What might this mean in practice? Well, here are a few examples. Actively considering climate change when investing our funds, withdrawing planning permission from building developments unless they're either no or low carbon emission, encouraging use of local suppliers and local projects, obliging contractors and potential contractors to report on their carbon emissions, encouraging people out of their cars by backing better, more affordable bus services, both in urban areas and the countryside, making a quantum leap in funding for cycling and walking, encouraging e-cars, private taxi, local authority and hydrogen buses. So we're not short of ideas. And I'm sure the upcoming Climate Change Summit for Gloucestershire will generate more. And we also have plenty of ideas about offsetting unavoidable carbon emissions, and Councillor Hilton will mention these. So to summarise, we need to ensure that all our existing and future goals, policies and plans are aligned with Gloucestershire's decarbonising ambition. And we need to be more ambitious. Sweden has agreed a net zero goal for CO2 emissions by 2045, Norway by 2030. But whether we're aiming for 2050, 2045, 2030 or even 2025 to achieve net zero emissions and 80% by 2030 with offsets, we need to act now. This is a climate emergency. We owe Gloucestershire, all of Gloucestershire, and the planet radical action. To revive an old quote from my youth, think global, act local. I commend this motion.